Hi, everyone. So great to see you all here. Let me make sure. We usually get started around in about 5 minutes. Give people time to join. Welcome, everyone. For those just joining, we'll get started in just a few minutes. Just about 3 more minutes, and we're going to dig into a Torus demo today. Very excited to show off what we've been doing and what we've been developing. About 2 more minutes, and we'll get started. So for those who just joined, as usual, we're going to give it another minute and then we'll dig right in. Okay, let's get started. So welcome, everybody. It's nice to see such a big crowd here today, or people interested in seeing the latest developments in our Torus platform. I'm Erin Serwinski, and I'll be taking you through some demo. Today is a Torus demonstration. I'm going to show you a little bit about accounts. This is just a a quick little set of bullets, but we'll be looking through the instructor view, through the LMS, view graded pages, gradebook. We're going to see a bunch of other stuff as well, and some new things since the last demo as well. So I'm going to stop this screen share again and dig into the demo. Forgive me as I have to move controls around. Okay. So, for those of you who don't already know this, our new platform is called Torus, and the URL to get to it is proton.oli.cmu.edu. Anyone can go and get a free account and sign up to get either instructor, authoring accounts, whatever you need. I'm going to sign as an author so I can show you some of the authoring capabilities. But first, I'm going to take you over to, after I get into my course here. So this is a list of all the projects that I've built or been added to over the time we've been building out Torus. And I'm going to use this course in particular, this cuisine of northern Spain, to showcase some things. This is the project overview where you can have a description. You can add folks, add collaborators. If you have their email, you can just add them. They don't have to have an account. They'll be prompted to get the right account to set up to get into the course that you're sharing with them. And this is the authoring side of things, by the way. We have a number of advanced activities that if you think you're going to use as part of your project, you can add them. Otherwise, we keep them out of the toolbar as a selection, unless you're really going to use them, just to keep the toolbars at a minimum and not unwieldy. And then you have some controls as an author as to the kinds of things you want to do. I am going to show you really quickly what it looks like from the instructor side through a Canvas account. So Torus integrates with all LMSs. So if you need to publish a course and have students get into it, you can do that through your LMS. And let me make sure. So let me look at all courses here. So are you seeing my all courses window in Canvas? I just want to make sure when I moved my desktop.
Yes.
Thank you. So I have a number of courses here that I've published and that I'm an instructor in that I've set up through my Canvas shell. And this cuisine in northern Spain is just one of them. And so some things I want to show you as this was already set up, and I have, I think, one student in it, which is Hal. Wanted to show you some things about this. So I'm going to go into this course, and this is the view that I have as an instructor and that your students would see when they click into the course from their LMS as well. Some things I want to show you as an instructor. You have the ability to manage some things as an instructor who set up a course section in their LMS. Very similar overview page like the one I just showed you as the author, but you have some controls right through here for whatever course you set up. So you can preview the course content, you can enter it as a student and see what the student sees. You can customize the curriculum right here from this particular course section. I can move things around, like right here. I would like to move this final quiz probably to, forgive me, the Zoom controls are in the way. Move this page. Sorry, I'm not having some difficulties here.
So you can if you just drag and drop any one of those pages, that'll reposition it. So the move allows you to move it into a different unit or module or section. But I think this course doesn't have any units, modules, or sections.
Thanks, Darren. I was going to try that next because I knew that that was available. So that's helpful to know that you can move things around. That like Darren said, this course doesn't have containers such as units and modules, but if you did, you would be able to rearrange them any way you want. So I'm going to save that. We'll go back to manage. So that was showing off the being able to customize. You can also manage gating and scheduling here. I don't have any gates in this course, but if I wanted to, I could set those up. Let me get back to you can manage updates, which is what I'll show you. I'll show you that a little bit later when I make a change to the authored version of the course. And then you have the ability to manage section details, and you can see that, and I'll show you this later on too, manually graded activities. Actually, I'm going to show you that right now. So we have the ability to embed activities now in our courses that can be manually graded. There's also a file upload ability as well if you want students to be able to upload a file and they have the instructors grade that manually as well. Actually, what I wanted to show you right now is the grade book. So in this particular course, if I go to grades, one of the things that we have is tight integration with the grade book and LMSs. So whatever, and I'll show you this in the course, but in the course, anywhere where there is something called a graded page, it will show up as a grade book item in the LMS gradebook. And then you have ways, to also manage that as well a little bit more. So I wanted to just point that out. Let's see. So the other parts of this manage section, right now I can show you that in this course, and you'll see this when I show you the authored version of the course, there is a single response that I want to have instructor graded. It's basically an open-ended response question. And there's a place here where you can go and manage those and see those results. I'll show you more later when I show you the actual course and how it's set up. So I wanted to just show you, can grades be overridden in the gradebook by the instructor? I do believe we have controls for that. Yes, thanks, Darren, for answering that question. I didn't show those because I don't have really enough in this course to show off all of that. But yes, you have the ability to manage all of that. Okay, I'm going to go back to the authoring version and dig in to, I'm going to there's a lot to show in Torus. I'm not going to show off every single little detail. I'm going to try and highlight some new things that folks might have never seen before. Yes, modules can be moved or deleted and duplicated, Michael, to answer your question. Lots more flexibility than we've had in the past. So I'm not going to show every detail, but I'm going to try and highlight big parts of Torus and some of the newest things, as well as some differences from our existing legacy system. So you saw the projects list, and I came into it through there. This left-hand navigation bar has the ability to do a lot of things. There's this overview. I'll show you objectives in a second, activity bank, bibliography, curriculum, and now there's a view to view all pages. For those who are familiar with Echo, that'd be similar to the resources tab, a place where you can just see a list of all of the pages outside of their containers if you have containers like units and modules. Insights is where you can go to get some data that's been generated on your courses through the course sections. And we're going to go start with objectives. So objectives are an important part of all OLI courses. We have the ability to do objectives and sub-objectives and to tag activities to any of those. The sub-objectives, which we used to call skills, or can be what you call knowledge components, or you can tag to the larger learning objective. Darren actually is going to show off some new tinkering we've done with this interface and some new functionality that is available to folks to manage their objectives and sub-objectives a little bit better. So stay tuned for that. We have an activity bank. This activity bank is a place where you can generate pools of questions that can be pulled in to either as formative assessment or graded assessment items. And so I have populated here a couple of multiple choice questions, and I'll show you how that works later on. But you have the ability in the activity bank to, of course, determine learning objectives for each of the activities that you develop, questions, tag them with various tags that you can create, any tags that you want. And then when I show you later how to pull those into a page, you have the ability to select from tags or objectives or type or even specific text to pull activities in a dynamic way, in other words, and you'll see that in a minute. We have bibliography, which might be new to some folks. So this is a place where you can generate references for your courses, and you can add them all here, or you can add them as you're building your pages, and they'll populate here. And as you're building your pages, you can select from your activity bank the citations that you want that you've added here. And there's lots of cool controls. You can do it through, the bib text code, and then it'll populate it, or you can enter manually any number of things, any number of types of references. I'm going to dive into the curriculum. So I have a curriculum here set up. There's only 4 pages in my curriculum. I didn't do anything fancy like units and modules, but you have the ability to do all of that by adding these types of you can add a page by adding a practice page, add a graded assessment page, or a container. Once you click unit, if you're going to add a unit, then you have the option to, again, add practice pages, graded assessments, or modules within those units. So it allows you to build out that hierarchy. And I'm just going to check the chat here. Thanks. Thanks, Michael. We'll take more of your once you see what we've done so far with the objectives, then we're always looking for refinement and for feedback on how to refine further. So once you see that, we can chat about what you'd like to see next. So I'm just going to dig in and go right into this introduction page to show a few things. So the way you build content is like most content editors that you're probably familiar with. You can add in a learning objective at the top of the page, just like you can in Legacy OLI. We have this ability to do grouping, which I'll showcase a little bit later. And then, of course, adding any number of things like text, videos, tables. And on this particular page, we're going to show you some new formatting options for tables. So if you're familiar with how tables have been done in the past, didn't have a lot of controls over how those tables looked. Now, once we create a table, or as you're creating a table, you actually have the ability to modify the table in different ways and actually do things that you couldn't do before, like having control over the border, the row style, being able to merge and split cells, and be able to add some, heading rows so that they're formatted as such. So just wanted to showcase that because it's pretty exciting to have those kinds of controls over tables that we're used to. Okay, just gonna move. I can move through the content as an author, similar to a student, and just work on pages that way. So right now I'm going to the next page. And on this page, I'm going to show how to insert a video. So anywhere you are in a given page, if you want to add any kind of content, you find this little bar right here that has the plus, and you can click and you can add all kinds of things. So you can add media, question bank, a question from the activity bank, surveys. We have the ability to do these types of questions right now. I've added drag and drop to show that a little bit later. This is check all that apply. if you want an upload, file upload activity, multiple choice ordering input. Input is for math or numbers, formulas, or text. Right now, what I'm going to add is a video. So once you add some sort of piece of content, you get controls that are relevant to that particular piece of content. In this case, I can add tables, I can add images, and I can add videos. I'm going to add a YouTube video here. And the way I do that is just by, it gives me this box, and I thought I had the video link ready, but I did not. So I just added this video, and as you can see, I have the ability to add a caption. I also can have some additional settings with regard to this video. I can add alternative text, and we're working to improve this all the time in terms of the video settings and the ability to manipulate the videos the way you would like. This in particular video, I was going to say about that. I think that's all I wanted to say about videos at the moment. What else did I want to show on this page? So as you can see, you can have headings, and you'll notice that we have this left-hand panel, and that controls the grouping of things. So you can add groups of things, just like you could add questions within multiple questions within one particular box. Like did I get this box? And I'll show you on the next page how I'm going to add to an example box as well. We have the ability to group these things in various ways through this interface over here. And you can also move content around very easily using this side. I want to do that, but so these are drag and drop items to be able to rearrange the page the way you would like. How do you copy questions? Okay, copying questions, I think, is as easy as Darren, I might need some help with that one.
Yeah, so at the moment, we cannot duplicate a question within a page. I don't think that exists yet. Let me look. You can duplicate an entire page, right? And actually say, if I've authored one page and create a copy of that page, but within a page, I don't believe yet there's actually ability to duplicate a question.
I know I've heard that it's very easy to copy content. Yeah, one workaround could be to use the question bank for now. Yes, you're right, Michael. It makes it easy. So we'll take that down as and I know it's something that's been requested in the past. So I'm just moving on to the next page. Let's work on this page a little bit. So what I want to show you in this page, there's a couple different things. I wanted to show off the ability to, I want to show you that we now have these semantic type boxes like we've had in Legacy, where we can designate things as an example, a simulation, a many students wonder, learn more, lab, that sort of thing. So we have the same kind of abilities to tag content as what its purpose is. And then we also have the ability, you can see that this example has 3 items in it. It has this image, it has some text, it has single response, and a file upload. I wanted to show those off. But you have the ability to add things to this group, just like you would a page or any other container. I wanted to show how you would insert an activity bank selection. So say I want right now, I want to generate a question kind of dynamically on the fly as the students encounter it, and pull from a pool of questions. So you saw in that activity bank that I had questions, and now I'm going to add one of those. So I want to add a bank question, And as you can see, it gives me the ability to add any number. So I'm going to add 2. And I want the ones that have this particular learning objective associated with it. So now once that activity bank selection is added, I can now, I'll preview the page and show you. By the way, any page you're on can be previewed with this preview button at the top. And I'll show you where the preview course button is in a minute. So this is that page that I just added a activity bank selection to. And here it's populating it now with 2 questions from my activity bank. And those will be chosen, I believe, randomly. So Michael, what do you mean by that?
Well, so you added the questions using the learning objective, which is great, but then I have to remember, you're counting on the author to remember what questions are associated with and what type of questions are associated with the learning objective. So it's blind until the preview is done.
Well, it's blind until, yeah, because you're what you're telling it to do is when a student encounters this page, pull in at random questions from the activity bank that are tagged with this learning objective or tag, or you can even pull in, like, I only want multiple choice questions, or I only want, it's a way of, you remember the ability to do pools in our quizzes? It's allowing that same functionality in as formative questions as well.
Okay, that wasn't clear. Okay.
Yeah.
That's interesting. So if I want to see the questions in the activity bank that this are related, I mean, I'm sure you can do that.
Yeah, that's what I was showing you earlier. You might have missed. I showed the activity bank. I kind of breezed over it. Here's where I created those questions. So I created these questions here. And so here's where you would see those questions. And then you can even search for them or even narrow down what you're looking at here based on any of the criteria that you've put on those questions.
It'd probably be good still to have a preview when you're in the page, like these are the questions that are matching when you're building it, because again, I'm relying on my memory, which I'm old, not so good.
Well, if you wanted that, then you would just put the questions you want in the page and embed them.
Well, I do think Michael's touching upon, I think, a feature that would be useful here. So imagine I have an activity bank that has 100 questions in it, right? And tagged in various ways and of different types. And then I go into a page and I embed an activity bank selection, right? Where I want to draw one question randomly, on a per student, per attempt basis, according to some criteria. I think it would be really helpful in that page where I've embedded that activity bank selection to have some sense of what is kind of the art of the possible. What am I drawing upon by the logic that I've constructed in that particular instance? How many questions could match, right? So if I put in, for instance, only questions that target this objective, it would be great if it told me, well, there are 35 total, right? And you're selecting to draw one randomly from that set. And then perhaps an easy way, like a button that then would take you to this activity bank view with that same logic configured, so that you would have an easy way to then browse and see, oh, here are the 35 questions that it's going to use out of the activity bank to draw that one from for this particular activity bank selection.
Yeah, that would work. I think slightly more, that's certainly fine. And a slightly more ideal would be to preview it right in the page, but that going to another page that
I would be concerned that previewing it in the page could give the illusion to the author that this is the question, right?
Okay.
The intent is that, right, it is going to be different for every student, right? And so we don't want to give that false sense that, oh, here's the question that it's selected and that is now permanently in this page for all students.
Yeah.
Right. And alternatively, it'd be hard to say, okay, here are all 35 questions that could be possible. right here listed in this page. I think that would be also confusing, but I like that what this has led to is, this conversation has led to is some additional functionality to help manage activity bank selections and view what you're intending to do.
Yeah, and I guess just on this page, because I was getting confused because it said right where your cursor is, it says number to select. I mean, as an author, probably number of questions to randomly select from the activity bank would be a lot clearer.
Ah, thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, without a doubt. Yeah, it's not doing a great job of describing specifically what it's setting out to do here.
Yeah, that's great. Thanks, Michael.
Okay, so all right, well, thank you. I'll turn my mic off.
And we have another question. Mark has his hand up, Aaron.
Yeah,
Oh, thank you. Go ahead.
yeah, for these activities, can we, well, a couple questions. One, can we stack them so that you don't have a linear list of questions? You know, we want, and can we specify the order? So, you know, if we've got a group of questions that we want to sort of build from early concept, getting a little more complex as they are solved, can we do that, or is it going to be truly random?
I would use, in that case, I would make sure that I tag the questions in the activity bank by difficulty, like put a tag on them by difficulty. And then you can put any number here of activity bank selections, and you can then select them based on that tag.
And you can have multiple tags.
Yes. It's
Right. And your tags, that how you specify them, that's up to the author, right? And they can be rather generic, such as level of difficulty, easy, hard, or could be something even domain specific, right? If I'm authoring a modern language course, I might create a tag to tag certain questions that are requiring the student to conjugate a verb, for instance, right? I could actually create a tag just for that. Then I can leverage that tag in constructing activity bank selection logic to get very fine grained and very domain specific.
Okay, yeah, thanks.
great.
Aaron?
Yes.
Hi, this is Ben. Can I ask a quick question?
Of
So
course.
I'm always thinking of these courses as something students work their way through, and you're comparing, performance under different conditions. So you wouldn't be wanting, it's always, if you've got different versions of a course, you've always got the hassle of trying to come up with different questions that are of equivalent difficulty. So the idea of just selecting a random question from a bank seems like it would just multiply the complexity of that task quite a bit. I'm imagining that I would want to do something like, say, students can only go through this module once, and within a particular condition, they're all going to get the same question. Maybe if you then opened it up so they could do it a second or third or fourth time, then it would be okay if it was selecting random questions that they hadn't seen. But I guess that I would be doing kind of a degenerate form of what you're talking about here, where there would just be one question to select from. Is there a way of toggling between those two? Does that make sense? Where like the first,
I think so. So what you want is you want to be able to have every student have the same question the first time, but then on subsequent attempts, maybe then it starts to randomize and give them different questions.
sure, and you might imagine that you would open it up for you wouldn't, the first time through, you wouldn't want them to be able to do multiple attempts, but then maybe for the studying for the exam or something, you'd want to let them do it again.
Interesting.
So it's interesting that actually behind the scenes, the implementation of this activity bank it's designed to support exactly what you're describing, Ben. So we've already put in there the capability that one could leverage context around the attempt into factoring which activities to draw from, right? So you could actually embed in this logic and construct something that says, only select questions that are tagged with first attempt only, for instance. And when it is the first attempt, we have not exposed that in the user interface yet, but it would be relatively straightforward to do that. I was reticent to do that from the beginning, only in that I thought it was going to complicate this kind of expression builder user interface a bit too much. And it was a new feature, right? We don't have that in the legacy system. So we were seeking to replicate capabilities from legacy first.
Right. Okay. Okay.
Yeah, but I like that use case, Ben. It's an interesting one.
And, and another feature of the platform that might be suitable in this case is the use of dynamic or templated questions, where a question can be constructed with essentially variables, right, in the question stem, and even variables in the feedback and what the correct answer is. And then, right, every student gets a different version of that dynamic question based upon some evaluation and establishment of those variables, right? So this is widely used in some of the stats and math courses where, right, you can give almost an unending supply of practice problems to students by having the system stamp out kind of new instance of really the same question, right? Just with different numbers, right? And different calculations that they have to perform.
Right.
Great. And thanks, Darren, for mentioning the variable support as well. I also wanted to highlight something that I don't know if folks have seen before, but the ability to do surveys. And so when you add this survey block anywhere in the course, you have the ability then to add any type of question to it. It could be multiple choice. It could be, open response. And what that does, and Darren, you'll have to help me out here, but I believe it makes those questions in the survey form not necessarily, it doesn't mark it as correct or incorrect, and can collect that data together as a survey, so that you can. Are there any other advantages of using surveys, Darren, that I'm missing?
Yeah, so you touched upon, I think the main one is that, right, there is no notion of right or wrong for those questions that are in a survey, and thus the system, it doesn't even show feedback to the student in the way that, right, a multiple choice question would typically do after the student makes a selection. But the other important aspect is, right, there's no score calculated for a question that's in a survey. So you as an author can actually embed a survey in a graded page, right? So at the bottom of an exam or a quiz, you can actually add survey questions that won't actually roll up and affect the overall grade of that particular graded page or quiz.
Great, thank you. So that was the other thing that I wanted to show. And then one more thing as far as content is concerned. So the next page of this course is a graded quiz. And there's some, questions in here, but I wanted to show this idea of this content break. The content breaks have been added as a way of paginating things. So it could be, in this case, it's in a final quiz, where now when I show this quiz, and I'm going to preview this quiz so you can see what that does, it essentially adds these, next buttons to allow you to page through. The other thing that I wanted to show, I just started playing around with this, which is the drag and drop activity, and it's complicated looking, but essentially it gives you the ability to build drag and drops like this, table-based drag and drops at the moment. So those are some of the main things in the content I wanted to show. Any questions that of things that you would like to do in content that I haven't quite shown off?
Will there also be the more traditional survey that we have, going on the SCT?
So we have the ability in surveys to add those Likert scale questions. We do have a Likert scale question type now. That's how it would mimic that. I mean, you're generating those by hand out of Likert questions, right?
Yes. So will it also be potentially attached to that magical graph feature, or is that something that'll be separate?
So for you talking about what's going on in your particular course, the reporting mechanism on the survey?
Yes. Yeah. So I guess what I'm saying is, are these survey questions seem to be different than the survey that we're using?
It just gives you the ability to build out the kind of survey that you're using with more flexibility.
Okay, so we'll still be able to have the graph out feature.
We haven't developed that yet, but we will be for you in particular, which will make it available to everybody then as a type that you can just embed that survey. I think what we're envisioning is like, I could just pick a type here that says survey report, and you could embed that in any page.
So I think this is internally what the system calls the activity report content element. So this is, I think I understand the ability to have a survey in one page in the course, and then later in the course, show the students the aggregated results, right, of what their peers answered on another page.
At the point in time that we're at, with the current version, not Torus, it's just graphing the students' individual responses for them.
Okay. Yeah, so this feature we're looking to build out. Well, we know we need to support this for that backwards compatible use case, but we're looking to expand the functionality and have it be able to support any and all activity types that exist within the system. I think there's some limitations right now with the way that works in OLI currently. It can only show the results of a particular type of activity or the activities that can exist in a survey. So that's a slight difference in Torus in that, as compared with the current OLI platform, a survey can contain basically 3 different types of questions, right? You've got your Likert, a multiple choice, and then an open response. In Torus, a survey can contain any type of activity. So any activity that exists in the system can exist in a survey. And when it's in a survey, it just operates slightly differently, right? It doesn't show feedback. It doesn't roll up and become part of the score. But it also, once we introduce that reporting capability, any activity in a survey will be reportable and be able to be displayed, right? And show the aggregated results to the student in another part of the course.
Thank you for answering that. Yeah, I think that's super awesome. I mean, we'd love to retain the ability of the individual responses, and in addition to add that aggregate. That sounds fantastic.
And then Darren, we're getting some questions about matching activities. I know we have ordering at the moment, but I can't remember if we have matching on the list.
Yeah, we've talked about building a matching activity. We just haven't, only because there isn't one in OLI today, right? So we sought first to build all of the activities that we knew that we needed so that we could migrate existing courses from OLI into Torus. But beyond that set, there are some other activities that we know that we want to build and provide support for. So a matching activity, I think, would be a great one. Even a simple true false activity, right? Which was really kind of a degenerate case of a multiple choice, but that was just far easier and quicker to author, right? So some ideas like that while you can accomplish those types of things with the more fundamental collection of question types that exist in OLI today, I think providing more concrete support for them in Torus makes a lot of sense. But right now today, a matching question doesn't exist in Torus.
I already had, I think, 2 email requests for matching questions like this week. So it is something that will be definitely on the list to build out. And then If there's a survey question in a page, I notice that students can reset and modify the response at any time. Is there a way to see history of responses or when it was modified? And again, Darren, I need your help with that one. I can't remember how the data works with viewing questions, question attempts.
Oh, yeah, so that's a relatively new feature. I don't think it's well, it is available on Proton, right? In the as an instructor, you can review attempts on graded pages. So a quiz, final exam, you have the ability then to look to see by navigating through the manage enrolled students, starting there or starting at the gradebook. You can go look at individual students for a specific page, a graded page, and then see all of the attempts that they've taken, click through, and then look at how they actually answered individual questions. So that exists today, right now on Proton for graded pages. We've extended that capability. It's not yet available in Proton. It is running in our test system, where now as an instructor, you can get that same level of view into any page in the system. So including practice pages. So you can browse and look to see for a particular student in your course section, for all of the pages that exist in the course, which pages they have visited, which ones they haven't, when they last visited them, how many times they visited them. And then if you drill in, you can look to see how they've answered or not answered the activities that are on that page, including the full history of attempts. So there might be a complex check all and apply activity on a page, and you can look and see then this student on this page, tried this activity 4 times before they actually got it correct. So that does exist in our test environment. We haven't deployed that and a collection of other things yet to the production system.
Thank you. Yeah, that allowed me to show off some of the in-depth integration with the LMS as well. So you can see here that there's times, and if there was multiple ones, they'd be listed here for this particular student that you could dig in and view.
Aaron, can you talk a little about the grade book? And I saw there was it uploads to, I guess, another LMS or to an LMS. You were when you went to, you could show all grades. Now there you were on the screen a minute ago. I saw you could see the grades, or you could upload the grades to. You could see the grades that failed to sync.
Oh yeah.
So is the grade book is replacing the dashboard, the learning dashboard, right, from OI?
No, we just have not built a learning dashboard yet, but we have full expectation to build a learning dashboard. So it's different from grade. We just know that we've wanted, many folks have added for more flexibility and functionality around gradebook. So we're trying to build those things out, but does not replace the learning dashboard.
Okay, and then when you're syncing, is that going to sync when you sync the grades? What is that syncing with?
When you sync the grades here.
Well, I guess somewhere the grades are getting synced.
Yeah, they're getting synced from the OLI course to the LMS gradebook.
Yeah, what's the LMS gradebook?
The LMS gradebook is that I'm in an LMS right now in Canvas.
Okay, it's Canvas.
Yeah, in this particular case, yes.
Okay, got it. And that happens automatically.
It happens automatically for those pages in the course that are designated a graded page. They will automatically populate the gradebook, but then you have controls over if you don't want it to.
Fantastic, great.
Lots of flexibility around gradebook integration with LMS for sure.
So you'll be able to deselect ones that you don't want shown. It's not that you'll have to hide them in the gradebook. You'll be able to deselect them before they get put in.
I think I need some help with the answer to that question.
So the way that it works right now today is that so every page in the course that you're teaching is deemed to be either graded or practice. And so Aaron walked through what that kind of looks like from a student perspective, right? If I go to visit a practice page, I just go right into the page and I can access material. When I click to access a graded page, I see a screen first that tells me I'm about to start my attempt. I have 5 total attempts. I click start, I answer the questions, and I submit my attempt. So it's simply that flag, whether a page is graded or not, that determines if the score gets sent to the LMS. There's no other mechanism to say, well, I want to keep that kind of graded experience within the system, but not send the grade to the LMS. We don't have the capability to do that. So to turn off sending the grade, you have to turn off the fact that it is a graded page at the moment.
Okay, I think I understand the answer to your question. So it's automated to where every single graded page would be embedded in the LMS, even though
Exactly.
we definitely we do not want that for our research study. But that's something that would have to be, changed, and we'd have to chat about it.
Yeah, I could easily see us adding another setting that was, keep this as a graded page, but just don't send a grade to the LMS. It's a use case we just hadn't encountered up to this point.
I have a question. You mentioned the graded pages are automatically synced with the gradebook, but is there a way where on non-graded pages we add a question activity learned by doing, they get synced with the gradebook, or is that not possible right now?
Yeah, it's the level of granularity for whether grades are sent or not is right now at the page level. So either a page is entirely practice or it's entirely graded. There's no way to have a practice page with then a portion of it be graded. You can include within a practice page a special type of link out to a graded page, right? So it kind of mimics what you could do in the OLI system via the activity element, right? So I've got a workbook page that has some content, and at the bottom that says, okay, now you're ready to start the quiz, right? And there's a link there that then opens into a new tab, and then the student takes the quiz. So you can accomplish that same thing, but you can't have in Torus, right, some questions that are practice and some that are graded. The only way that you could really kind of do that is via that survey mechanism. So I did mention that even in a graded page, right, if you put a survey in there, those questions, anything that's in there will not factor into the overall grade for that page.
Got it. Thank you.
Okay, so some other things that I wanted to show you right now from this is managing sections. So I showed you, I think, where you can score manually graded activities. In this case, I think I went in as a student and submitted a single response answer. And then as an instructor, I can go in and see that submission. So I clicked on it and I saw this is from the instructor side. The student submission for that. There's also, I just entered in a way to give feedback and a score on those. So this is, let me show you again what that particular activity looks like in the curriculum. And then I'm going to update, I'm going to show you some publishing functionality that will update my LMS course with this file upload question, which I added after the latest update. But here's that single response. It's basically a single response based as a paragraph. And if I go in, I can designate any activity to be manually graded by the instructor with this toggle. So that's what allowed it to be an instructor graded question. I'm going to show you some publishing stuff next, and then we'll go back to that file upload question too. So as an author of the course, I have the ability to run this review of my course. And right now what it flags for me are any accessibility issues, missing alt text on images, any content where I have activities that possibly haven't been tagged with learning objectives yet or skills, or if I have things that like I have an activity bank that I'm asking for it to embed 3 questions here, but there's only 1 in the activity bank, so it's not going to it flags those types of things. We're going to be adding to this kind of audit tool all the time. So if you have ideas for things that you'd like us to flag and put here in the list, and you can dismiss them, or you can go right into that page and go right from here, click in and fix whatever needs to be fixed. And then here is a preview course button. This is we'll preview the entire course. So you'll be able to page through it like a student would, and have the same to be able to view things that way instead of page by page.
Aaron,
Yes.
sorry.
Oh, you're fine. That's what it's for.
Has there been any thought, is there any ongoing thought to how the equivalent of God, I'm blanking on the term, mass production spreadsheets and CTAT might be incorporated into Torus?
We have folks exploring that, but we haven't gone very far on that yet. But of course, we want to be able to build Torus to integrate better with all the OpenSimon tools in the OpenSimon toolkit. So those will definitely be coming.
I mean, especially for the kinds of studies that we've done in the past, you end up with like a handful of questions that need to be used for pre-test, post-test quizzes, and you're flipping. And so you end up wanting like 12 or 18 or 24 versions of questions that you can scatter all around that are, very, very similar. And in the tool that we were using before, it was just so error prone to cut and paste. And it was perfectly natural for me to use an Excel spreadsheet, but then not having something that would be fairly simple compared to all of the complexity that you've already got. It just led to an incredibly error prone process. And especially if there was a bit of support for that, because so many of the fairly generic learning studies, LearnLab studies require that kind of thing. It would be really nice to have that. And the next time we do run a big study, we're going to need to do something like that.
So let me see if I understand the feature that you're talking about. That this would be like the notion that I know I need these 24 questions that are all somewhat related, and probably the fastest way for me to author them would be, right, just like in an Excel spreadsheet, right? Column A is the STEM, column B is the correct answer, and these are the other choices. And then I can copy and paste and quickly put those variants together. And then if there was a feature in the platform, Torus, that just read that file, allowed you to upload it, and then it turned them into questions, say in the activity bank.
That would certainly be one way of doing it. Basically it's like you've got pre-tests. We had pre-tests, mid-tests, and post-tests, and we wanted to know, we wanted a measure of students' performance on say each of 3 types of questions. And so we had 3 variants of each one, and then we shuffled those around in different subgroups so we could, because we didn't know that they were all equally difficult, right? And so it's more like you have 3 questions and 3 different places you're going to use them, and you need to shuffle them in different subgroups of the study.
Okay, yeah, got it. Yeah, so this is more of an actual like A/B test. We're working on right now, and in fact, one of our engineers has just opened a pull request for the most of this infrastructure, the ability to support what we call alternatives and groups and values, so that I can essentially, this replicates a feature from OLI of the same name, alternative, but we're implementing it in a more broad, flexible way that's going to allow us to do pretty much what you described, right? So I can have groups of content that on a student by student basis, depending on their context, like what experimental group they are assigned to, will show them a portion, right? One group, one collection out of the possible options that exist at that spot in the course.
And I'm assuming that would be something that you could put together in Excel.
So that is, I think, that's interesting. I think I would view that as a bit orthogonal to this feature, but we would want to make that work, right? So if there's a need to allow this to be set up in the questions, the content ingested in a more efficient manner than having somebody manually create these things, right? Or even using a duplicate this question function, that I think would make a lot of sense.
I mean, just being able to import a comma separated file would be.
Yeah, indeed. And we had some of this functionality in the Echo authoring environment. You could actually ingest a Google Docs, right? It would turn it into a workbook page, and there was another mechanism to pull questions from a spreadsheet. We just haven't pulled forward that capability in Torus yet, but I do think it's very powerful, right? For folks that have offline content, that's much faster than using the web-based UI to copy and paste and replicate things.
Right. Well, we've got a couple NSF proposals being reviewed, and if they get funded, I would love to have that functionality before the first study.
And there is actually, there is a published document format for all of the structures within a Torus course, from the curriculum to pages to activities, and we have an ingestion mechanism so that one can construct a zip file with all of the resources that you want and ingest that into the platform. Now, right now, that creates a new course. When you do that, we could extend that, we've already talked about it, to allow that to not always create a new course, but just simply add the resources that it finds in that zip file to an existing course. So that's an existing avenue that could allow us to allow the automated ingestion of new resources into an existing course.
Okay, well, I'll leave any follow-ups to a later conversation with you. So I'll end it there. Thanks.
Yeah, I know that I've been wanting for a while, and I just have it on a background list to explore ways, different ways we can add to the activity banks, for example, in an easy, quick way from other sources or other formats. So yeah, the sky is going to be the limit once we get the base functionality in place. And as Darren said, we are building out and thinking about ways of supporting A/B testing a lot more, a lot better. Michael, to answer your question in text, yes, Torus courses can be standalone. They're not dependent on an LMS. I'm just not showcasing that functionality at the moment because it would complicate the larger demo. But yes, we have the ability, and we've been doing this with, for example, Metal students in an e-learning design course where they were basically pulling together courses very quickly and getting them out for testing, and you can deliver those courses with just the link and get folks into those and using them either anonymously or through their accounts. So lots of flexibility in terms of delivery mechanisms. Okay, so one of the things I wanted to show, one of the last things I want to show is this ability to, okay, we review, is to publish. And by the way, I'm going to gloss over products, but essentially products are a way of providing different permeations of a course, similar to if you're familiar with OLI Legacy, the way we have organizations where you can have the same content delivered in different ways or different configurations, essentially. However, with the idea of a product, there's a lot more controls over of what you can do with those organizations in the past. I'm not going to get into all of that, but just know that that exists. And then publishing. So this is, as an author, I can see I'm ready to publish the latest versions of my course. And so I can come here and I can see all the a summary of what I've done to the course. And then I can create a version and change the version number if I want. So right now I'm going to say I want, updated content. Just going to put it, and I'm going to publish this out. And then what this does is as an instructor of the course, if you remember, I'm also an instructor. I can go to this course in my LMS and see when I manage the section that there is an update available. And then I can, as an instructor, go in and I can review this update, get that same summary, and decide whether I want to apply it right now or not. I'm going to go ahead and apply it so that then I can show you how instantly this works, essentially. So I believe on this page, I had that file submission activity that I created. So this one, it's actually a pretty bad submission because I didn't really, I wrote, oh yeah, here are the instructions. Upload one MS Word file, Word document file that represents a recipe. And so as a student, I can go and I can upload that Word document. And then I'm also, as the instructor, can go, and I haven't tested this out yet, being both the student and the instructor, so forgive me if this doesn't work. I can manage the selection, and I have a new activity. I think this is where you go. Maybe I'm in the wrong place. Or maybe again, it's not working because I'm the student and the instructor. I'm gonna look at the text here. Okay, set up a course where Torus alerts me to when students begin the course. I'm envisioning a class that all students would be welcome to take at any point. That's an interesting use case, Matt. So basically you're looking for notifications external to what you have available in the LMS to know when students are doing certain things in the OLI course.
Yeah, what I'd be looking for is to set up a course on, just say, scientific information. And it could be something that anybody could start at any time. And I would just need to be alerted, like, oh, hey, there's somebody in your course now, and they're starting to do exercises or something like that. That lets me know that I need to go in and pay attention and maybe even grade things, or give feedback.
Great.
So for your particular need, would you be integrating with an LMS or using the platform in a standalone without an LMS?
I'd be very flexible with that,
Okay.
Whatever would be recommended.
Okay. Yeah, so I could imagine that if you are using an LMS, I suspect that, and depending upon the LMS, that there might be features in the LMS that do that already, but that's only going to be at the level of granularity of, right, a student has been enrolled. And once they're inside of Torus and in the material, it's not going to have much visibility and be able to give you any notification beyond probably a grade, a graded page was completed, right? A new thing has shown up in the LMS gradebook. So what you're asking about, I think, would be a really interesting feature that if the platform could support, right, a collection of different events that you as the instructor could be notified upon, whether that notification was when you first log in, probably would be in both places. You log in and you look at the manage section, right? You would have some way to see, oh, you have 13 new notifications, but also a way to receive those offline, right? So to get an email, for instance, that a student has just enrolled in your course, or a student has submitted a page attempt that requires manual scoring. So that's interesting. We've not encountered that use case exactly in the past, but the system could support that for sure.
Yeah, we've
Does it
had
today.
similar requests from two of the users, two of the attendees, the modern languages team and Michael with the metals team, have both requested for their sort of public courses, especially where they are asynchronous, some sort of notification when people from unexpectedly sign up, because it's not planned, it's open to the public and anybody can come along, and you want to be able to monitor as people join the roster. Sometimes it has to do with simply knowing that they're there and taking some form of action, and sometimes it has to do with payment. You might be letting in a guest and you don't want them to have to pay, and you don't have some sort of special code to let them in for free, so they sign up and then you grant them access when they're there. And it's nice to get a notification in that kind of setting. So we've had a lot of notification needs that I think we're going to work into the new system.
Well, that sounds good, because I would just want to make sure that usually our own students are learning what I want them to know. So
Yeah, to Hal's point, we are trying to put more functionality in to help manage kind of asynchronous, a lot of certification type courses. So we'll be adding a lot of functionality around support for those, and it sounds like that's something similar to what they would need. Okay, well, I showed the ability to upload a file, but I apologize, I can't figure out how to show you, but you, as an instructor, you'll be able to get those files from the students, download them, grade them. I feel like I've taken a lot of time on the basics, and I really want to give Darren some no, Michael's certification is not yet part of Torus, although I could be wrong about that. I don't believe we've built out the ability to deliver a certificate yet, but it is on our list and a priority.
Yeah, you're correct, Aaron. It's not currently supported, completely on our radar, and is something that we were targeting to have in place by the end of the year. But I think some other priorities have kind of shifted in place ahead of that.
And payment, that's another good question that I'm not quite sure how that's been handled yet.
Yeah, so there is a payments system that's implemented in Torus. So a course section, right, can have a required payment associated with it. And there's similar to OLI, there's grace period support as well. Within that, even a course section that requires payment can give 10 days grace for a student before they're forced to actually pay. It's a pluggable, the payment provider is pluggable in the sense that we've built this out so that we initially had a requirement to allow Stripe integration. So that's what's in place right now. We have not yet built out the CMU approved payment provider CashNet. So I don't think that we can claim today, right now, that Torus supports charging for courses at CMU in the way that I think that we can do with the OLI system today, right? Because it's not going to go through CashNet. It only supports, there's only a Stripe integration at the moment. But that, that's something that it's not a terribly large amount of work. It's just we haven't there's not been an immediate requirement for us to build out that CashNet implementation.
Darren, where does the money go if somebody pays?
So I currently have an account set up in an offshore bank, and
Okay,
yeah.
sounds good.
No, so nothing in the managed instance that we run here of Torus, there is no payment mechanism set up. We don't have the Stripe integration even in place, right? That was actually developed for one of our community partners, right? That is charging courses for a completely different instance of the Torus platform.
Okay, so payment doesn't work right now, is what you're saying.
No, yeah, it is not enabled, right? It's built out. We can enable it for like our instance of Torus once we actually have that CMU approved CashNet implementation in place.
Okay, got it. Yeah, because we'll need it for certificate courses, obviously, but yeah, cool.
And thanks, Darren. So just a few more things. I showed publishing. This is the all pages view, so you can see what pages are in your course. And then we have insights. We have this lightweight right now ability to see, like, so I've actually published this course before and had folks add and work through it. So I have some data from existing course sections out there. And so I can see at a glance, for those of you who are familiar with Echo, this also has the ability to show, or in the back in the day, the magic spreadsheet that Norm used to build out of the data of a course. This is replicating that functionality. So I can see at a glance what my activities are and what kind of data I've collected on them so far. And have the ability to always download all of the raw data that's been collected on a given course. Just want to touch on that briefly. And now I'm sorry, Darren, I'm only leaving you about, I don't know, 15 minutes or so to highlight some of the new stuff coming out that isn't baked in or yet been put into our Proton, but is on our testing environment, Tokamak. So let me show review students state of anything, auto submitting for MCQ, and certain formatting issues or formatting components. So I'm going to stop my share, Darren, and let you.
Okay, let me see if I can make this work.
Yeah, let me make sure that I have sharing. There you go.
So I just have a few things that I wanted to run through. So maybe first and foremost, one of the things that we've recently re-implemented. So in Proton right now, if you, within your course project as an author, if you go to the objectives page, right, the objectives view, you can define, edit, and manage the course objectives, your learning objectives for that course. So that view has been re-implemented. This again, right, what I'm demoing right now is just running in our test environment. We have not finished, right, like the quality assurance on this, and that's why it's not yet at part of the current actual production release running on Proton. But there was enough here that we felt that it made sense to kind of give this preview of some things that are coming up next. So here I'm actually in a large course. This is one of the flagship OLI courses, the General Chemistry 1. And so this is actually the reason why we had to, courses like this is the reason why we had to rebuild and kind of enhance this objectives view, because they just place a greater demand on the user interface. So the current user interface in Proton, it's really not scalable to support a course like this general chemistry course, where there are 91 total top level learning objectives. And I think probably 200 or more sub objectives or skills below it. So this view now, it's a bit more similar to the view that exists in the Echo authoring environment, where I can see a top level objective. I can drill down and get some more information, right? I can see what pages this learning objective is attached to. I can click right on that link then, and that will take me into the editor for that page. I can see the sub objectives that are applied. I can get some statistics, and this is, we have to change this. This is like gray text on a gray background, which is not at all readable. But it, can give me an indication of how many activities, right, are actually being targeted by the collection of sub-objectives in this objective here itself. I can search through, right, and filter down. That's surprising to me that only one objective contains the word define. Okay, that seems a little bit better. Right, I can page through the objectives. I can even then sort by, right, the number of page attachments, the number of activity attachments. So that gives me a bit of what we refer to from the Echo platform as this like design audit capability, right? I'm able now, using this view, to get a sense of how well I may have constructed and instrumented a learning model across the course curriculum in my course, right? So if I sort by number of activity attachments and I see, well, all of these objectives here target no activities in the course, that gives me some action items, right? Where I might realize I never actually finished setting up the objective attachment to the activities in that last unit of my course. So that's the new learning objectives view. This is not done. I mentioned, right, we need to correct that color scheme there on the far right. And there's some additional analytics features and audit capabilities that we're planning on adding into it. So one of the other things that we've recently made a big push on is to achieve one-to-one, what I call content element parity between the OLI system and what is supported in Torus. So for those folks on the call that are comfortable and have been working in the XML, which I think is maybe a good portion of you, right? The content elements are those actual specific XML element tags, like the definition tag, right? The dialogue tag, the table. So for us to be successful and be able to migrate all courses from OLI eventually into Torus, we have to achieve that one-to-one content element parity, right? We have to have a solution, a way to map the content that exists in the OLI pages into this new platform. And so in most cases, that's a one-to-one mapping, right? So something like a conjugation table, that element in OLI, that very same element exists in Torus, right? And so just in the last 1 or 2 months, we've made a lot of progress in that space and have kind of filled in a lot of gaps, a lot of missing content elements in Torus to achieve that one-to-one parity. And I think we're now at the state where there might be only 1 or 2 elements that we don't yet support, multi-panel being one of them. But I can give a quick demo of what some of those actually look like. And so if I created this latest features demo course. And so while I lead the OLI engineering team, I also am a user of OLI. For the last 2+ years, I've been learning French. And so I've worked through the Elementary French 1 and the Elementary French 2 course as a student on OLI. So many of the examples that I show draw from that content. So here we see on this page that I've authored an instance of a conjugation table, right? So here, and to edit it, the interface is relatively straightforward. I'm looking at what effectively amounts to a preview of that content, that piece of content on the page, but I can click then edit to change any aspect of that. Right? If I want to remove a pronoun, for instance, right, I can do that, and then kind of go back to the read-only kind of preview mode. This first sentence here, you can see the last part of it is underlined. That's actually indicating that there's the presence of the foreign tag, right? So the OLI DTD allows an inline foreign tag that effectively can instruct I think the intent is to instruct screen readers to handle that appropriately. And there's some other uses of it, of the lang attribute as well. So, but that's what it's indicating here, is that I've actually attached a foreign language here, and you see, right, I've specified specifically that it's French. Now, we also have support at the course project level itself. One can define, right, if it is a modern language course, a foreign language course, you can define what your target language is there at the top level of the project. Then any instance of this foreign inline construct automatically will kind of inherit that default language, but you can override it on a case-by-case basis, so that if you did have a course that had mixed language, English, Spanish, French, and you wanted to designate each of them appropriately, you can do that. We've also recently introduced, well, we had HTML5 video support that's running in Proton, but we've added, well, I didn't intend for it to play, but we've improved that support by adding support for the playback speed and the captioning track support. So if I click settings, now there's some additional capability above and beyond what exists in our production system, where I can upload the closed captioning tracks and multiple video tracks as well. Paired with that is the support for what the legacy OIDTD refers to as command and messaging, right? So this is used to introduce a bit of automation, right, into a page, and I think predominantly one of the I guess most widely used cases for this is, right, I've got a video on the page, and I placed one of these command buttons to allow the student to start and stop that video at particular time increments, right? So I've put this button on the page. Now, there's only one video on the page, right? So I don't have to choose. But if there were multiple videos here, this user interface would allow me to pick which video I want this button to specifically target. And then I can control the start and the stop time. And then I think I have to go to preview to actually play it. I don't think it allows me to do it there. But if I preview this page, right, I see the page, I see the video, and now I can.
Pourquoi ils habitent à Paris?
Ils travaillent tous les deux, alors. Right, and then the second button does the same thing with a different segment of the video. So that's a sampling of a couple of these new content elements that the system now supports. There's the definition tag, figure, dialogue, term. This was the conjugation table, theorem, command and messaging. I'm just kind of scanning through a list that I have here. But we've got to the point now, like I said, that we're almost at 100% content element parity. That multi-panel is a very unique content element that we have to handle, maybe on a case-by-case basis. But rest assured, right, if you have an instance of a multi-panel in an OLI course, there will be a migration path forward for that content. So
Darren, before you go on,
yeah,
just since this is the courses I deal with, use this quite extensively. You say it's down to the hundredths of a second. Is that really true? Is it? It is?
I believe it is. Yeah, it's to the level of granularity that, like, these APIs for like the HTML5 video player, and we're looking at adding this support for YouTube videos as well. It's to whatever level of granularity that they can support.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Let's see. Okay, so the other aspect that I wanted to show, and we talked about this, Aaron talked about this a bit earlier, was that ability for an instructor to see the progress of practice pages, right? So this is actually a course section for that practice page, right? And I've got this multiple choice question down here at the bottom that then I can look at my enrolled students, and this was just a course section that I opened up to guest access, and I logged in like an incognito window twice, which is why it says that the student name is unknown. But if I click on this second student, I can see, right, there's 2 pages in the course. The student has not visited this new page course, right, the second one, but they have visited that first one, right? And they visited it one time, and it was about an hour ago. So if I click then into that page, I see the summary of their attempt history, and there's only one attempt. But if now I can look at that page as an instructor, and I see the page content, but I also see exactly what the student did, right? So for this question, I can see they answered question choice C, and I got it incorrect. This dropdown gives me the full history. So I can see, actually, they took 4 attempts, right? The first attempt, they click C again. The second attempt, I don't like that that's scrolling. The second attempt, they got it correct, right? They actually clicked choice A, and they kept trying different things, right? And I understand that that's actually a fairly common thing that students do in practice pages, clicking the different options, right? To read all of the different feedbacks, right? And attempt maybe to learn kind of, something above and beyond just what, getting it right. So that is the new feature. It's not yet on Proton again, right? That allows an instructor to have complete visibility into what their students are doing or what they're not doing, right? By seeing that, well, they've never even visited this page, or they visited this page, but they did nothing with the activities that are actually on the page. So I think I took us right up to 2 o'clock. So
You
let me stop there. And if folks have any questions, I can surely hang around and try to answer them.
Thanks, Darren. That was excellent. And this is so exciting. Some of this new functionality is going to be are things that folks have been asking for a while. So yeah, we are at time. We're actually 1 minute over, but does anybody, I'm willing to stay and answer questions as well, or show anything that you guys are needing to see in particular. Well, excellent. I'm glad you guys have been asking questions throughout the demo, and really appreciate you coming today. Have a great weekend, and I guess we'll end there, but feel free to reach out to me for any reason, any question or ideas that you have, feedback that you have. I also want to let you know that there is no December community meeting. However, next year, we're going to be on a similar schedule. We'll have, the first Friday of every month. But we're looking to do some more interesting things like, maybe do some user testing and other things that might help us move these features into a more stable state. So if you have ideas for topics that you would like us to tackle and have a meeting about next year, please feel free to drop me a note about that and a suggestion. But in the meantime, you can also just reach out to me anytime and for a one-on-one conversation, or to talk directly with any of our developers. So with that, I will say have a great weekend, everyone, and I'll be talking to you again soon.
And make sure you vote.
Thanks, Mark. Yes.
Thanks, Erin. Thanks, everyone.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks, Darren.
Thanks, Erin.
Okay, thanks. Bye.
Bye.